Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the situation report or the summary for the day of 1178 to 1179 for the 16th to the 17th of May. And this also includes all the latest frontline changes up to this point of the recording on the 18th of May. So we're going to start off from the Sumi front again. And for those that never saw this channel before, if you like what you're going to be seeing, do subscribe, because YouTube is now pushing videos to new channels to us. I also watch YouTube, and a lot of new channels and you never see before. But if you don't subscribe, then you'll probably never see me again. And if you never subscribe, then hi, bye bye. And so we're gonna this is the Sumi front, and so over at the Tekhino sector of the front line, the Russian forces continue to counterattack on the Ukrainian side, with fighting reported towards Rizivka, Antinske, as well as Basilivka. The Ukrainians, however, was geolocated over here, confirming the Ukrainian presence right at the border region at Rizivka, which is actually a Ukrainian town. So the Russians are attacking back around this region here. So that's all that we know for now, as of this moment. Over at the Sumy sector, the Russians seems to have resumed their offensive operation in this region, with the Russian Defense Ministry mentioning Oleksievka. I think this is the first time we have seen Oleksievka mentioned in the Sumy front, and Yunakivka was mentioned as well as Sadki. So the Russians continue to build some kind of a buffer zone at the Sumy front, and that's all from the Sumy front. The entire Ukrainian Belgorod incursion thing is now swept under the rug as if it never happened. The Ukrainians never going to talk about it ever again. It never happened. It have done its purpose for that PR operation where Zelensky tell the press, our troops are in Belgorod region, and then and that's like a one-day PR thing, and it never ever was mentioned again. And it was correct that my assessment was correct during those times, because after the mention of the Ukrainian forces at Belgorod, there was like a desperate situation where they quickly say, well, it's still true factually, but then right after that they got pushed out of the Belgorod region. So this is what a waste of human lives. So that's all from the Sumy front. We go to the Kharkiv front. So this is Kharkiv city. This is the Kharkiv front. Usually as usual, the main action is over at Voschansk. There is some kind of skirmishes over this region here. It's actually not really offensive. It's just a skirmish at this city. There's a new one, however. Where is it? Okay, there's this mention of Katye or Katne, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. I just rate it as Shaoling, but it's a very unusual place to be mentioned. I've never seen this place being mentioned before. Took me a bit of time to find where the hell is this place. So otherwise, the Kharkiv front continued to be a very quiet front line for now, and we move on to the Voreshna front. This is Voreshna, and this is the Voreshna front. Over in the northern flank of the Voreshna, the Russians continue their fight in the region of Kanyamka. There is also mention of Troivka, which is the town or the village just off the border. The Russians are still operating around here. For those that are not aware, the possible front line actually may look more like this. Yeah, the front line may actually look more like this, but I have not changed the front line because I have no evidence that that's the case. Everything in this mapping is sourced. Without source, I don't change it. And also, there's another thing about this. For those that may not be aware of this, the old OGs would have known. This is actually not one map. This is actually two maps. So the blue is the Ukrainian perspective of where the front line is. The pink one is the Russian perspective of where the front line is. So just in case you are not aware of that that the fact that there's actually two maps, not one map, because there is the parallel universe going on the Russian and the Ukrainian side. They have different perspective of what reality is. No, like the Ukrainians think they are winning and the Russians think they are winning. So someone must be wrong. Guess who? So over at the Kupiansk front, this is Kupiansk. At the Kupiansk front, the Russians continue this north-south offensive with fighting reported in the region of Kupiansk and fighting reported towards Novoosinovo and Koleniskivka. So this remains to be the case. Nothing changed strategically. Nothing special about this. There's a mosquito. Sorry, no, I suddenly clapped and maybe destroyed your ears. Yeah, I saw a mosquito. Yeah, is sent by the SBU. I just make very bad jokes about Ukraine. It's a difficult life. The reporting the truth. You never know when a killer, SBU mosquito will come and kill me, and then if I die, I just want to say, I did not commit suicide. So over at Borova, this is Borova front. This is Borova front. This is Borova, and fighting is reported over at Zarizove, Lozova, Shikivka, towards Shikivka, and over at Novoyehorivka. Pidliman is also mentioned. Probably some shelling around here. So this largely more or less is the same strategically. There's not much to talk about because these are probably all very low key skirmishes. There's not much of real offensive around here because the real offensive is over in the Liman front, which is the next front line. So this is Liman, and this is the Liman front, or the lemon front, or the crispy lemon front, because it's known as Krasny Liman in Russia, in Russian. So the northern flank, the Russian forces attack. You can see the number of icons is ridiculous. Fighting is reported at Druzhilivka, Kharkivka, Ohivka, Novi Mariam, shelling at Andriivka, at Katerinivka, towards Klushchenkove, Rikodu, Kapivka, and Zelina Dolena. So you can see that this is ridiculous amount of arrows, and it clearly shows the Russians are heading in a very big arrow offensive in this sector. And there's some frontline changes noted around this area here, which is actually pretty new. So these are all today's geolocation. This is like today. Didn't happen in the frontline changes report. Between Makiivka and Novomihailivka, the Russian forces has been geolocated in two different locations. So these two geolocations separately have marked the Russian forces advancing west of Makiivka, capturing number of rather important forest lines, whereas just northeast of Novomihailivka, the Russian forces captured some pretty important forests in this region. So this is a conservative mapping. This would assume that the Ukrainian forces have some positions around here, which means that they are now on the verge of encirclement. But we do not know. We do not know whether the Ukrainians actually is still in this forest, but it is possible because if you look at the offensive, it does make sense that the Ukrainians may still be defending in this region here, not knowing that they are getting inserted from the back, like small Russian soldiers are entering from the back. Like it's very small because we are very zoom out right now, right? So if I zoom in like this, yeah, it's still going to be very small. It's going to be like smaller than this one dot. So yeah, tiny, very, very tiny. So so that's all from this area. And I'll move over the southern flank at the Liman front. We have fighting reported at Koleziazi as well as Yampolivka. Over at Zarishne, there's some geolocation of Ukrainian forces, and one of them. Did I mention this last time? Looks like I have mentioned this before, but I may be no idea. 16. Oh no, I haven't mentioned this in the SITREP. So Ukrainian forces geolocated here, confirming that the Ukrainians have taken back some ground around Zarish, near Zarishne in the north of Toske. There's another geolocation of Ukrainian forward position that was hit by the Russian forces but that's about it. The Ukrainians definitely is trying to hold this line for as very important for them to hold this line, because this is the last settlement before Liman. Liman being captured would compromise the defense at Siversk, believe it or not, because there at Liman, this is the road leading to Siversk. The other road leading to Siversk is actually through this through the center here, and this road is linked in this area here like this. So, and there's no more roads leading to Siversk from the Ukrainian side, because the position south is already controlled by the Russians. So this is the only road to Siversk. This is why Liman is pretty important for the Ukrainians' ongoing defense of Siversk front. And so we go to the Siversk front right now. This is Siversk. Over the Siversk front, the Russian forces are fighting at Bilohorivka, Verkhomo-Kanyamsky, and towards Siversk. The pressure continues, but so far no more updates in this region here. Very curious what the hell is happening at Verkhomo-Kanyamsky, with the Russians already geolocated, taking half of Verkhomo-Kanyamsky. So, but so far no more news, is very sus. But we'll continue to monitor as we move into the Bakhmut front. So this is Bakhmut city, the very famous Bakhmut city that the Ukrainians say that they must not lose. It's super strategically important, and now it doesn't exist at all. In the Ukrainian universe, Bakhmut don't exist. It's not a real thing. It's your hallucination. It does not exist at all. They have never declared it lost. So Bakhmut is not lost. The Russians are simply fighting at Chasiv, Stupovsky, and Proteshny. For whatever reason, Bakhmut is never declared lost. Shelling is reported at Semenivka and Novodmitrivka. So that's about it from this region. There's nothing special about all this as we move into the next front line at the New York front. Yes, this is New York City. The counterfeit one, and so over in this eastern flank, Russian forces it's just too, I have to zoom in. Fighting is reported at Bilohora, Kodyamivka, Ozeranivka, Druzhba, Dilievka, Krimsky, Torex, and then Ivanopilya is mentioned, Lishevka is mentioned, Katerinivka is mentioned. So I will have to zoom up a bit and to show you this. Yeah. So, and then Novospassky is also mentioned, which is also known as Petrivka. So the Russians are pushing in all these various directions. It's basically the entire front line is burning. The entire front line all along here is the Russians are conducting offensive in all directions. So this is one of the main offensive regions the Russians are currently conducting operations in. However, lately there's not much intel coming out from this sector. We do not know what are the main changes around here. So something to look out for. The number of attacks here is ridiculous. Over in the New York sector, there is fighting report or the Zoria sector. Fighting is reported at Romanivka, Zoria, Stara Mykolaievka, and at Stara Mykolaievka there is frontline changes. The Russian forces geolocated inside of Stara Mykolaievka, making some advance, having a strong foothold, pretty much in the center of the town. Over in this western flank, this one just now I already mentioned, the fighting towards Zoria. The Russian Defense Ministry announced the capture of Alexandropil. However, fighting is still reported in this sector. Fighting is also reported towards Yablonivka, fighting is at Novo-Olenivka, towards Popivka, at Novo-Potovka, as well as this towards Potovka, the old Potovka. And there is a lot of frontline changes in this sector. Basically, the Russians have consolidated their positions around Novo-Olenivka and Novo-Potovka. So you can see this. These are all now confirmed. This by Ukrainian mapping. This is the latest. The Russian forces totally taking everything along the highway, east of the highway, and have a strong foothold inside Novopetrovsk, almost fully capturing it, and everything east of Novoolenivka also seems to be entirely under Russian control, as the Russians continue to punch north from Novoolenivka towards the direction of Yablunivka. So the situation is super bad over here. The Ukrainians are not defending at all. I would say they are basically pulling back and defend their minimal. It doesn't look like they're still there. They are still fighting, but like they are doing the bare minimum right now. Because the peace talk is ongoing. I think that's one of the big reasons. Soldiers, particularly the Ukrainian ones, don't really want to die for no reasons. Like you don't want to die when the peace is so near. So that's one thing. Nearby, as we move into the Pokrovsk front, this is Pokrovsk. This is the Pokrovsk front. Nearby, over in this eastern flank of the Pokrovsk front, as mentioned just now, this is the front line change here. If I zoom in this way, you can see that this is developing into some kind of a pincer as well, with Russian forces taking a strong position at Novopetrovsk. They have been geolocated suddenly in the north of Melnivka. This is a very peculiar advance, as now the Russians are now pushing into Shevchenko-Pershi. This is acknowledged. This is reported by the Russians, and the Russians have acknowledged that they are now within striking distance of Shevchenko-Pershi. This is the first time I've seen this location being mentioned as well. So that's something to note. Geolocation of Ukrainian forces, armored vehicle, not important because it doesn't change the front line. So as I move the front line in this way, you can see that we are already going out of the Myrnohrad sector. It's breaking out. Maybe I need to change further. But we shall see how the front line goes. This is Myrnohrad, and so before I continue, happy birthday to you if your birthday today, and also do remember to subscribe. Be careful of the YouTube sniper. The YouTube sniper constantly kill off subscribers. Like I think people just get unsubscribed without them knowing. So make sure you are subscribed, and for those that haven't subscribed, this is a good reminder to subscribe, because if not, you're never going to see me again. It may not be a bad thing, you never see me again. I know it's very hard to share your love. I know you may have your own lover already, but not seeing me again might save your marriage or something. I'm not sure. So fighting is reported over at Yelizavetivka, over in Myrnohrad. The entire region here has expanded quite a lot based on Russian mapping. They have claimed that the Russian forces have secured everything north of Rodevka as well. Fighting is reported prominent as well as towards Myrnohrad. So this also looks very heavy in terms of frontline changes. And I just want to note, if you zoom out a bit, this is the twin city, Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. The Russian forces, you can see they are making one big push in this area. There's another push over here, another push this way, but you can see this. You can see where the general directions, and this area here is looking like a massive flanking operation around Myrnohrad. So so this is a very massive flanking operation, big arrow stuff that we used to see during World War II. So this is something to take note of if you are not realizing this. Over in the Pokrovsk sector, there is very little, because this is not the main area of interest for the Russians for now. This is just a line where they hold. Fighting is reported at Lysivka and towards Pokrovsk. And over onto the western flank, we have fighting reported at Udashny, Novosahiyevka and Novoolexandrivka. South of this position, so there's nothing particularly new about this. There's nothing special about this. So in the southern flank, there is fighting reported over at Troitsky, Zaporizhia, Bodanivka, and there's a geolocation making very tiny frontline change around here. Very tiny one, not important. So the fighting continues. The Ukrainians continue to try to resist as much as they can, because this entire line is threatening to enter into the border, across the border into the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, which is it will be the first time the Russians step into the Dnipro-Petrovsk Oblast if this happens. Now we will go to the next front line, which is the Komar front. So this Komar, and this is the Komar front. And over in the Andreevka sector, massive update around this area as well. As you can see just now in the Pokrovsk, New York front region, that is already pretty big. Now this is another one that is super huge. So Russian forces are fighting at Andreevka, Oleksievka, towards Novo-Ukrainka, probably coming from the north, Konstantinopil, and Bahatir. However, based on geolocation, we can now firmly confirm that the Russian forces have fully captured Bahatir. And this would also mean that everything in Konstantinopil is also under Russian control. So the Ukrainian claims of fighting at Konstantinopil, this is reported by the Ukrainians, you can see the links, are definitely inaccurate. Unless they have troops stranded over there, that means those troops are encircled, if that is true. Otherwise, the Ukrainians will have no means to get out of Konstantinopil now. And then the Russian mapping continue to assert that they have continue to move westward towards Odradne, with this fighting moving there. So this is a very massive frontline change in this region. The strategic situation here totally have changed because of this capture of Bahatir. So we will continue to monitor and as we assess what is next from here. There's also further frontline changes here, like the Ukrainians have confirmed that the Russians have taken everything east of this highway, and there's a geolocation invalidating Ukrainian claims or corroborating Russian claims in the east of Dnipro and Kiev. Over in the Komar region, the Russians are now pushing towards Komar. So while the Russians are pushing towards Odradne in this area here, the Russians are also pushing towards Komar. In the rear, there's no mentions, and we go to the western flanks. I don't want to zoom in too much. There's not particularly a lot of unique things over here right now. Fighting is reported at Shevchenko, Venipole, Novosilka, Zelenipole, Novopil, as well as Rivnopil. So that is the main gist, and you can see this entire area here also looks like a big arrow offensive, heading also in the direction of Dnipro-Petrovsk Oblast. So but this is moving in the direction of some heavy fortification, or at least mapped by someone else that there is something here. But if the Russians push through, then there's probably not much in the rear positions, and I don't think the Ukrainians have that much more money and manpower to build more. If they build more, it's never going to be the same level of construction that they have done in 2022-2023. And we move on to the next front line, which is the Zaporizhia front. This is Zaporizhia, and this is Zaporizhia front. There is nothing over at the Huaypole sector. The actions is over at Orikhiv sector and the Kayamsky sector. In this region here, I try to see whether I can cover all together. Okay, never mind. Over the Orikhiv sector, there is fighting reported at Malotomashka. That's about it. Nothing more about here. Over at the Kayamsky sector, which is the main offensive region at the Zaporizhia front, fighting is reported at Shebaki, Mali Shebaki, Stepove, as well as Kayamsky. Over in the Stepove, Lobkove region, there are some slight frontline changes around here. This geolocation confirms the Russians' full capture of Lobkove, whereas this frontline change around here by Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, confirming the Russians are flanking south of Stepove, or at least or they could potentially moving north, depending on where they're coming from. So these are very slight changes. It doesn't really change much. Other than we have this confirmation of the capture of Lobkove. This area here is very difficult for the Russians. It's very heavily fortified, and it's very close to Zaporizhia, a very big city. So it's not going to be so easy going for the Russians over here, as we've seen that the very lack of frontline change. Far away in the rear positions, there is a Pelican radar that was destroyed. This is super far away from the front line. We're talking about distance like over 80 kilometers. So this is a bit weird. Like why are they hunting for radars right now? So that's something unusual if you ask me. and we go into the Kherson front, and so the just another reminder to press the like button and subscribe. Yeah, because this is the last front line. I know people don't like about this front line, and so before I start this, there is some rumors coming from pro-Russian information space that they're suggesting that the Russians are now planning something over in this area here. I also saw another piece of rumor that the Russians have already crossed the river and operating on the northern shores of the Dnipro River. So allegedly, Russians are operating in these regions right now. There's some infiltration by some troops, some recon, or they call it DRGs. I cannot confirm this information, but these are rumors that is currently ongoing. And if this is true, the Russians may start a new Kherson offensive, or making the Kherson offensive becoming more serious. Which means that you are not going to skip this part in the future. You'll probably want me to cover this first. Who knows? I'm not sure. So there's something to take note of. But this is just rumors for now. But it's looking rather serious. There is shelling reported also Korivka. This is very out of place. But this is a pretty important place because this is a very very narrow part of the Dnieper River. So over in the rest of the Kherson front, there is shelling reported at Berislav, Pontentivka, and Antonivka. There is a geolocation of a Russian Fab 3000 airstrike hitting Ukrainian position at Bohunka, right? I think this is Bohunka. Let me see. Yeah, Bohunka. So this is so that happened. If I have more information about the Kherson front thingy, I will let you guys know. What kind of grammar is that? Let you guys knows. Yeah. So thanks for watching this videos, and I'll see you guys. That's all already. There's no more. You can watch other things now, and I'll see you guys in the next update.